Hi, welcome back, and we're still doing the servicing on the TT. So now we're going to do an oil service, but this oil service is a bit different because what I like to do, the oil is very black. So what I like to do is run a cheaper oil through straight after, leave the original oil filter in, drain the oil out, put it back, the sump plug back in, put at least 3.5-4 litres of oil, clean fresh oil in, run it for another 10 to 15 minutes to flush all the rubbish out of the cooler and everywhere else, then dump that, then put your decent high grade oil back in. So at least that way then you've got as much of the carbon out as you can. So might as well just get straight into it. Right, so first things first, before you change oil on any car, not just this car, any car, always make sure the oil is warm and preferably hot. You know, I know it's going to be burn your hands, so wear rubber gloves, but it has to be hot because as it rushes out of the engine, it drags all the carbon and rubbish that's sat in the bottom of the sump. So always make sure the oil is at least warm, if not hot. Either take it for a drive, or as we have done, and left it running so it warms it up. Leave it running for a good 20 minutes beforehand. So anyway, that's that aside, let's get on with what you need to take off and what I do. So first things first, we'll take the engine cover off. Dipstick out, and the oil filler, take it out. So any kind of form of vacuum is being taken away. So next thing is we want to remove this Torx bit here because it has got the valve there which is in the way of the oil pump. So I'll just get the torque for that. Right, that Torx is a T30. There we go. Put that up there so you don't lose it. Now next thing, there she is. So now that can just be moved out of the way so you can get the socket down in. This is a 32mm socket. Right, so I have a nice long extension so I can get the ratchet on it. It shouldn't be tight. So there we go. Now this time normally I would take it out, but because we're putting fresh oil, cheap fresh oil through to flush the system, what I'm going to do is just pull it until you hear a rush of oil, and that means you've allowed, because it holds oil in here under pressure. So all I'm doing is allowing that oil to drain. So I'll just leave that out at an angle while I now go underneath the car to drain all the oil out. Right, so now everything's done in the engine bay for now. We've got to take the belly pan off. Now on these, for some weird reason, there's hundreds and hundreds of different size bolts. I say hundreds, that's a massive over exaggeration. So we've got a T25, a T30 and a T45 all holding the belly pan on. So again, I use the Whizzy tool just because it's easy. So first things first, the T30s, so these ones are actually threaded, not self-tappers. You've got two there, and you've got two at the back. So two in the middle, two at the back. So that's those. And then the T45 is at the back in the middle. Now obviously this is if your car is as it is from the showroom, because obviously people change bolts, people put different things in when they lose them or snap them. These I always put grease on them because these are renowned for seizing and damaging themselves. So all of these got covered in grease, because obviously I've serviced this car before. And then is the T25, which is here, and there's lots and lots and lots of these dotted all the way around. So what I'll do, rather than do all this at the same time, I'll take them all off and I'll get back to you in a second. Right, so all the screws are out, so we can lay that back there out the way. We'll put the catch for the oil. Now the sump plug is a 19mm spanner, and that, there we go. Right, now what would be a good idea is to put a rubber glove on, because the oil will be very hot and you don't want to burn your hands. There we go. And as you can see, the oil is really black, and because of that I'm going to run some fresh oil through it before I then put the decent oil in. So when all this oil is drained out, I'll put the sump plug back in. I'll put about 3.5 litres, enough to run it safely in, let it run for another 15-20 minutes, and then drop that out as well. So I'll get back to you when the oil's drained. Right, so obviously normally when you're just changing oil you don't have to do this, so if you don't want to see this bit, obviously feel free to skip forward to the final part. But for anyone that wants to stay and see what I'm doing, basically I'm just going to put 3.5 litres of oil. I'm going to put the old oil filter, I'm just literally, as you know, I left it dropped off, so I'm just going to screw that back in and do it up. Okay, so that's nipped up. It's not the correct torque because I've just nipped it up, because it's going to come straight back out again in a minute. So now let's put the oil in the motor. Right, so that's the 3.5 litres in. So let's fire up, give it 10 or 15, oh, there we go, 10 or 15 minutes to purge the system, and then we'll get back to it. Right, so that's had a good 10-15 minute run. So now oil filter back off, but this time we're actually going to replace it. Okay. Let's just let that drain again. Hear it running. Give it a few seconds and then just put it out nice and quickly, upend it, and that just pops off. Just give it a shake and there it goes. It just clips in. Right, so old oil filter off, you got the housing. What you got to do, I use a little flat screwdriver bit, pull it up, pull the seal out, roll it out, off it comes. So that's that one. Take that one off. The new one, put it on one side and just roll it out over the top and then down to that big fat groove at the bottom. Make sure it's all settled in all the way around. Now use a bit of the oil from the top and go round, so it's got a nice light film on it, because that's obviously going to grip. New one, when it goes, click. Simple as that. A little bit of oil on there. Move all that away. Down and in, just falls in. Always screw it up by finger first, so it's not cross-threaded. There we go. There, all done up. So now, before we forget, we put the valve back on, put the screw back in. Right, so there. There we go. Right, so let's get this bit of oil out again. So that's now warm. Now this is the 3.5 litres of fresh oil that I put in to flush the whole system through before we now put the decent oil in. There we go, and look how black that is. See, that is brand new oil that's only just gone in the engine, and you can still see that is still black. So that's why I've done it, because it's stinking. So I'll let this drain and get back to you in a second. All the new but old oil is now out of the engine, so what we're going to do is put Castrol edge in, and that is 530 fully synthetic C3. So we'll put 4.5 litres in and then dip the oil until it reaches this mark here. There's a minimum and maximum, so get to here is maximum there. So when it's there, that's perfect. So you run it, what I do is fill it to 3/4, run it so it's sucked up the oil, and then fill it to here, and that's it. But it will hold 4.5 litres is what it should do. But always make sure you check your oil on a level ground. Now it goes through my funnel slow because I've got a filter to catch any particles that have landed in there. So this would be flying in normally, but I don't like taking a risk just in case something drops in while I'm doing it. But as I said, it holds 4.5 litres, so I'll put 4.5 in and we'll get back to it in a sec. Right, so there you go. That's filled to there before I start the engine. So we'll now fire it up and let it fill the oil filter up. Right, so now we've run it up and taken the oil, and I showed you where the oil was before. So let's see where it is now. It was on maximum, and now there you go, right down there. So it went from being on maximum to half full, which that is about 500 mil, if that, to get it to that point. And obviously the car has to be on the flat. So what I'll do now is, obviously I'll put it back on the floor now. We know it's all ready, and I'll top it up, and that'll be it. So it's as simple as that, guys. It's not a big deal. Sorry if it's been a bit long because I've done a double oil change, but if you know, obviously you skipped to this bit if you didn't need to see the double. So hope you enjoyed that. Like and subscribe, and see you next one. Cheers, guys.